In today's lesson, I'm going to use Coreldraw and Ruby to show you how to set up the 12 by 24 sheet so that we can send it over to the laser machine. I'm going to use, the example I'm going to use a 1 by 3 plate because this is a standard plate size that we would see in the trophy industry, and this is where we would use a lot of the Trolase thins. You can see that my text is not in the location that I wanted. I'm going to want to move it up closer to the top here. And I always want to use exact placement. I don't want to use the sort of the eyeball method, and the problem when we use the eyeball method, we get into indexing issues when we try to duplicate the plate. So I'm going to take you through how to do this in Coreldraw. It's very simple. And then what we'll do in Corel is then I'll show you how to change the direction of the cut line so it's a little bit more efficient for our movement. So I'm going to take my text here. You can see that I've got the text selected. And if I go up to the origin location settings here, you'll notice that the center icon is selected. And what that means is that my measurements in the XY here are being measured from the middle location of my selection. I've got nine anchors here, I've got 8 rectangles, and I've got a X in the middle. And right now I'm going to be measuring from the X. So my plate size is 1 by 3, and because it's 1 by 3, then I want to make this number here in the middle of that 1 by 3 plate, which would be 3 divided by 2, which is 1.5 on the X. So the X is the left and right movement. So I'm going to type in 1.5, press enter, and you notice that it's come over to the 1.5 location on the ruler. Now, the ruler in Coreldraw by default is 0 on the X and 12 on the Y. This is because we're working in a Cartesian plane, and because we're working that way, then the 0, it's a 0 and a 12 here. You can make the 0 if you want, but the problem with that is when I do my numbers here, they're going to have to be in minus. So I normally I just stay with the 12 inches and we work that way. So all I need to do is to select that text, and the half, if I have a 1 inch high plate, it's 2 divided by 1, which is 0.5. 0.5 minus 12 is going to be 11.5. So I'm going to type in 11.5. And you'll notice that my text now is in the perfect location for my first plate. Now I need to duplicate this across, and we're going to put this onto a 12 by 24. So again, if I zoom out a little bit here, let's get a little bit more to 24. There we go. And you can see my text is located here. Now what I want to do, I'm going to use the transformation command. I know some people may use some different processes. I like to use the transformation command, and again, that's located in Dockers. And you can see transform here, and you notice the hotkey for it is Alt F7. I'm going to open this up, and it's going to dock to the far right here. Now I'm going to duplicate across, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to put in 3 inches in the X here. And what that means is that I'm measuring from the middle of the plate, and I'm using a 1 by 3 inch plate, so the width is 3 inches. So I need to move that plate and duplicate it. I'm going to just do it once here, one time, and I want to move it 3 inches. And it's a relative move, which means it basically relatively moves in terms of this is my 0, 0. In the middle here, 3 inches. I'm going to put this copy here once, and I'm going to apply. And I'm going to apply again, and I could go apply all the way across. You could also go Control D, which does the same thing. And if I zoom back out a little bit more, Shift F4, and you'll notice I'm out to a plate here, and I can go Control D again, and I'm where I want to be. And I know I'm on the last plate because I've got 22.4 and I'm still 11.5. Now I've got my row done. Now I need to do my column, and this is easy to do. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to make the X 0 now, and my Y is going to be minus 1 inch because the plate is 1 inch tall. And all I need to do now is go apply. And again, I've duplicated the whole row. And if I go Control D, then I'm going to duplicate all the way down. Now the next thing I need to do is I need to do my cut lines. Cut lines I can do, that's quite easy to do. I'm going to come over here and I have the freehand tool here. I'm going to select it and I'm going to click once and hold the control key down. That creates an ortho line, which basically means a 90-degree line in terms of this. It could be an angle too, but this is 90 degrees. So if I click again, I've got myself a line segment. I'm going to go back up to the pick tool and you'll notice here I've got a line. Now it's black. I'm going to make it red. And if you double click on here on the rectangle, then we can just make that into hairline and inches. Again, I normally, if I was set up for this, I would normally have a default come up as a line drawn as red, and a hairline is the size of the line. And again, that's what I would do if I was in a production shop. Now what I want to do here is select the line, and then the line is going to be 12 inches because that's the height of my plate, my overall plate. And you can see that it's now 12 inches, and the X we're going to be 3 because we want to be on the outside of the plate. And so if I press enter and it goes over, and my Y is going to be 6 because again it's in the middle of the large plate, which is 12 inches tall. So I need to divide that by 2, which is 6 inches, and if I press enter, then my line is right at the edges of the plate here. Now all I need to do is to duplicate this, and that's quite easy to do. I'm going to make this 0. Press enter. And then what I'm going to do is again, I'm going to go back here to 3. And I'm going to duplicate once, plus apply, 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 apply. And then I'm going to apply again. Now the thing to remember, a couple things, is that when you buy plastic, it's not always going to be 12 by 24. Normally in terms of the Trolase tins, it's going to be 12 inches tall, but it may be 24¼ inches long. So again, we need to cut that last piece off. If it was exactly 12 by 24, then I wouldn't have to worry about this last line. But I'm going to sort of give you a worst case scenario here. So again, you'll notice here that I've got the line on the edge of the plate. Now the problem with Coreldraw is that it doesn't process anything within the 0.005 inches of the page. So what's happening here is that I'm actually right on the edge, but it can't be. I'm actually going to move in 5 thou. And the way I move in from 5 thou is, you'll notice here 24 inches is the location. I'm going to make this 23.995. Press enter. And that plate is moved in 5 thou. Nobody's ever going to see it. And it's now on the actual plate now, and it'll be registered when I send this over to the laser machine. So the next thing I need to do is I need to create another line that's horizontal. I'm going to select this line here. The easiest thing I normally do is I just go Control CV and I get myself an extra copy there, and then I come over here and I turn this to 90 degrees. And now my line has to be 24 inches, and my location for the middle, 24 divided by 2 is 12. And the first line has to be at the 1 inch mark, which is 12 inches minus 1, which is 11. So this is going to be 11. So now that I've got the first line created, now I can basically just duplicate that out. I can either use the copies here, or I could use the Control D. I could type in exactly what proper numbers are here, and it would be perfect. So again, this is going to be 0, and this is going to be minus 1, which it is, and then I'm going to click apply, and then apply, and then apply, and then all the way down. And guess what? I'm now on 12 inches, as we can see here, and as I mentioned in the previous example of the vertical lines, I'm actually on the edge of the page so that Corel will not process this, so I've got to bring it up 0.005, and now the line is within the actual working area. Now again, I could sit here and I could send the job over right now and everything would be fine and we'd be good to go. However, there's one other thing, and again, it's not that big of a deal here, but I think it's a good learning example of things you can do with Corel to sort of speed up your process. The problem we have here right now is that the lines are going to be going this way, and then it's going to come back here and then start here. We really don't want that to happen. What we want to do is we want the line to come here and then come down here and then come back this way and so forth. And that's very easy to do. So what we need to do is we have a home node and we've got an end node. The home node, all the home nodes are basically right here, and all the end nodes are right here. I just need to change the end node and put a home node here, put an end node here, put in a home node there, and then back and forth. So the machine's going to be kind of going in a kind of a small Z pattern all the way down, and that will speed up. And it's, again, if you got a small machine, it's not a big deal, but if you had a large machine and then you could speed the process up, then it's certainly a lot better. And a lot of times what I'll do is I actually may save all these lines and put them in an actual separate file, and then I'll just use that separate file as my work off. And then I'll add my text in after the fact. So again, let's look at this. I'm just going to take this here, and then if I go up to my node edit tool here, you'll notice that home node, end node, you can see the direction of the line. If I select the next one, you'll notice that I've got there. And it's very easy to make that change. All I need to do is come in here, right click on this line here, and then reverse subpass, which if you look up in the screen here, it's actually in the menu bar, which is right here. So if I reverse subpasses, now what would happen is the text would go from, the machine would go from here all the way across down to here, and then back here. Okay? And again, I would go through the whole process. I'm not going to do it today, but as long as you understand what's going on there, I think that really will speed the job up. That's not a really big deal for us today, but always something I like to point out to people, that you do have that option if you want to go that route. So all I really need to do now is save the job, and then I always like to save the job before I send it off, because I don't want to spend too much time and all of a sudden power goes out or the computer crashes or whatever. So we're always trying to save this job. So I'm going to go in here and just save this. Let's call it multiple. And now I've got myself a copy of the job. Now all I really need to do is then just come in here and then go file print. And then I would go in, and then I have my Trotec driver going right here, and then I can send the job right over through job control that way. I'm going to run the job right out of Ruby for this example, and again, I'm just going to copy this into Ruby, which is very easy to do. I'll show you how to do that, and then we'll run it from there. But again, if it was job control, I'd just say print, and then off it would go. Now that the job has been saved and I'm in Ruby, all I really need to do now is to take that job and bring it into Ruby, which is import. And here's the multiple Coreldraw file here. Just double click on that. Design's being uploaded. And I've got my job here. I'm going to double click on that job. And you can see that I've got my setup done here. I don't really need to do anything here because I've already done everything in Coreldraw. So all I need to do now is create the job. And I can send that to the queue. Now I do have a preset here for the machine. Now I'm just going to select the material setting here. I'm going to click on my down arrow here. And in the new version of Ruby, version 2.10, which is coming out any day now, you'll have the ability to actually have a lot more functionality in the material setting, and you'll see the whole setting file come up on the screen, which is really going to be a really great add-on. So I'm going to look for Trolase thins. There it is right there. And you'll notice that I've got 40 power, 100 speed. Cut quality is going to be 20% power and 2% speed. And remember, I just want to cut through the material, but not all the way through into the mask. Okay, and hopefully that's what will happen here, and we'll be able to run the job, and then you'll see the finished product. So let's run the job over here. I'm going to push this to the queue. You'll see the job is ready to go. I've got my power and speed set up, and everything is ready on the physical table here. So let's run the job and let's see what happens. Now that I've created the plate, all I need to do is go create job, select the plate, go to the array function, and I have 8 across, 12 in a row, and you can see I've got my 12 by 24, and I just need to get my material, which is thins. Double click, and I'm going to push that to the laser machine. That's all I need to do. Thing you'll notice in the job as you watch it is that the material is not curling up, and as I mentioned in previous videos, and I mentioned again in this video, I'm going out of focus. In the case of this material, 0.04 inches, and the reason I'm not going at 0.09, which I normally would do on the thicker materials, is because I'm working with a thinner material, and it's not as susceptible to seeing the gray that we would normally get in some of the bigger materials. So again, trying to mitigate the amount of heat that's there also. So I'm trying to use the best amount, the least amount of heat. I'm trying to keep my powers at the minimal. And again, the same as when I cut, I got to keep it at a minimal because I can only go through the material but not into the masking. Very, very important to test this material before you run it. I am using an 80 watt system, so again you can transform the numbers that I had for the settings if you're using a different powered machine in terms of a Trotec. You can also see that I've got magnets attached to the edges of the laser thin material here, because I can't use the normal engraver's table tape like I normally would, and I don't want to use masking tape. I could use a masking tape because I'm not getting really that much, but I like to use the magnets just in case. The table is stainless steel, so the magnets will work on it, no problems. If you didn't have a stainless steel table and you just had a cutting grid there, then probably what I would do is just buy a 12 by 24 sheet of stainless steel. We sell it here, 15 thou. Put it on there and then just, put the material on the 12 by 24 and then use the magnets that way. Again, if you have somebody that's very good at it, maybe you'll get a stainless steel piece cut exactly the size of the table that you're working with, in this case 17 by 29, but whatever. Again, I just like using the magnets. You'll notice that I'm outside of the engraving area when I'm engraving here. So just remember that you're going to put the magnets on there, you've got to account for this in the software setup. So again, just remember to position the magnets properly. I don't have a nose cone on here. It's wasn't going to hit them, but it's close enough, you know. And realistically, I don't really need the nose cone. The material's thin, so it's really not going to generate a lot of flaming or anything like that. So I can just leave it off. Now you can see, there's my material with no magnets on it, and there's no warping at all. So again, this is a very easy material to work with as long as you're doing the settings properly. Okay, so let's just check and see how good let's see how we did on our foil. Again, you can see I've got here, if I turn this over in the back, you'll notice you can see a little bit of a fold there where everything is. The plates are. You can see that. And if I turn this around, and let's look at this one here in the bottom. Again, I can just take that and peel that off. And look at that. Isn't that crazy? You know, guys, I can tell you that was 400, that's 96 plates done in 14 minutes. Okay? Like if you're doing like, can you imagine the old days when we used to have like metal? We had metal plates, and we had to cut them and then do a multiple. You had to shear them. We had to, you know, put them in tape on there, take the backing off. You know, stick it on the plate or stick it on the trophy. Oh my God, it's crazy. You know how much work is involved here. I can do 100 plates almost in less than 15 minutes. And so if I'm doing 1,000 plates, it's 10 hours of engraving time. I mean, sorry, not 10 hours. It's 400 plates, basically an hour. So 1,000 is 2.5 hours, right? Like, guys, this is crazy. I use this if I was in the trophy business. I wouldn't even think of doing anything else other than this material. No more metal plates. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video here.